A lot of our listeners are very familiar with the traditional way of making money in real estate. And by that, I mean, if you have residential buildings, you're providing a roof to someone, a roof under someone's head, safe environment to live in, and they'll pay you in return for rent, or you sell the building outright once you've developed it. In other cases, you're building industrial assets or hotels, or you're building shopping mall centers, whatever it might be. Most real estate is based on renting space out. And we're talking physical space, so someone can have the rights to occupy that space, manufacture in that space, or sleep in that space, or sell items in that space. Some of our listeners, especially in the commercial real estate sector, have assets that make revenue from advertising. Often, you have a big wall, and you can put a billboard on there perhaps, especially if the city allows you to and the regulations allow you to. Now you've got a whole new revenue stream. But most of our listeners, because that's a niche within commercial real estate, aren't familiar with that business model. So could you sort of educate some of our listeners first on how the outdoor digital advertising space works on physical real estate? And then I'd like to dive in a little bit into how that applies in the metaverse. But let's stay purely focused on the physical side right now.
Yeah, so one really interesting thing that you said there is that there's actually quite a lot of friction, to be able to put a billboard or a screen on the side of a building. You need planning permission probably. There's a capital cost of doing it, which could run to the millions for large screen media. There's things like luminosity in terms of how bright they are at night, how close they are to roads, because people may be driving as they're going past them. But yes, you've got, and then what kind of audience, what's the profile of the audience, etc. But so as an outdoor media company, you're looking to work with property owners in very simplistically one of kind of two ways. One, that there's an opportunity to be able to place inventory on their building, and you will then do a deal whereby you manage that on their behalf, you're commercializing that on their behalf. They may have some say in terms of what kind of advertising would go on there. If it's linked to, if it's above a retail shopping mall, you might not want competing advertisers on there. Or for example, if it's near a school, there's also a bunch of law and regulation that says you can't have fast food on on those posters. So there's other kind of layers of complexity that go on top as well. Or it could be that part of the proposition is a service-related proposition. A company called JC&Co, who's one of our partners, was kind of very instrumental early days in doing this, which is, so it could be that you say, look, actually, what, you're a council, what you really need is some bus shelters, or you're going to need some bins, and you're going to need maybe some public toilets, or some street lights. And so part of the proposition we're going to have to you, Mr. kind of cash-strapped council, is we're going to offer you this service, and in return for that, we're then going to monetize those infrastructures and also then give you a share. But actually a large part of the proposition is a service-related proposition. So that's kind of basically how, and then you are responsible by aggregating all of that inventory together to then create campaigns, working with agencies and brands directly to be able to say, the brand will say, I've got I'm a fashion company, I'm launching my new collection, and these are the people I want to reach. And then you have a bunch of data that says, exactly those types of people are walking past this particular area and they're shopping here, and we've got mobile phone data that's kind of showing the movement, and therefore this would be a great part of the campaign that you can use. And actually we as Darabase work with a lot of outdoor media owners to help them to create an immersive layer to their existing inventory. So we're actually the augmented reality partner for Piccadilly Lights and Piccadilly Circus. And we just did a campaign for Sing 2 for Universal Pictures, where they had a promotion advertisement on the big screen saying go watch Sing 2, but obviously it's silent because it's a big public screen. So we've actually got some patent pending audio technology where we use computer vision. So you can hold up your phone, it recognizes what's going on the screen and then synchronizes on your phone the audio to the public screen. So you can then hold up your phone, put it in your pocket, and then you can actually listen on your headphones to what you're seeing on a public screen, which is cool. So, and then also you could see the video of the full trailer, which kind of came up on a big screen inside a Piccadilly Circus, but it's all completely virtual. And there's other things you can do as well. We've got another campaign about to go live with a high-end fashion company where they want to be able to promote, kind of launch a wayfinding, so kind of map-based experience to get you from the screen to their store. That's pretty cool. I'm seeing the, right, yeah, that's cool. Where can I go buy it? Well, follow the arrow, it'll take you to the store. There's lots of ways that we're already working with the outdoor industry to bring our technology to help that to be facilitated.
The outdoor industry also has evolved over time, where initially you had these very static looking billboards. Then these billboards would rotate, which would allow you to have different types of advertisers, and you could command a premium for that. You're selling space, and it could be by the seconds or however you do it. Then you started to have these physical layers added on top of the billboard, this texture, or there's an item sticking out of the billboard, and now you also have digital billboards where it's like a screen. And the next layer on top of this is the QR code. QR codes are really making a comeback, and I say comeback because there was a lot of hype in the VC circle around AR and QR codes, and that sort of died down a little bit, and it really did take off in Asia, but not so much in the West. And I think we're now at peak usage. Super Bowl recently, for example, ran, or Coinbase ran an ad in the Super Bowl. It was just a QR code, right? People just saw a QR code. There was nothing else. You scan it, and it takes you to Coinbase website where you can register and get, some incentive, like $15 worth of Bitcoin. So successful. People pay $7 million for like a small, slot at the Super Bowl. And this was by far the most simple ad, the cheapest ever to produce. And yet, consumers love it. So now you're adding these QR codes. Is there a
Which, by the way, we have COVID to thank for that. If COVID has given us anything, it's taught the world to scan QR codes. Yeah.
Are there premiums charged for adding interactivity, or is it sort of you have the space, you add a QR code, and now it's free for you for whatever happens in that QR code experience?
Okay, so a QR code just takes you to a URL, it takes you to a website. So it's just a simple way to take you to, so it could just be like for Coinbase, it just took you to their website. We use QR codes a lot in whether it be, so for example, we're running an immersive gallery at the moment for a large property company on Sydney Harbour, and they're looking to drive people back into the office and back into this community called International Towers in Barangaroo in Sydney. And so we've worked with some really famous Australian artists to create these kind of AR installations. So there's a car, for example, that was which was kind of turned into an artwork in the outback, and we went out into the outback and we scanned the car, and you can then hold up your phone and there's this massive, amazing artwork in the middle of this precinct on Sydney Harbour. But the way you get there is that, as you say, it's being promoted and you can scan a QR code. And the great thing from an augmented reality perspective with a QR code is it's already it's the training wheels to get you into the experience, because you've already opened up your camera, you're already looking at the world through your camera. You scan this QR code, and it kind of just continues to be, suddenly instead of just seeing the QR code, you're going into an AR experience where your camera is then also layering this other content on the world around you, making it look like it's really there. So from our perspective, it's QR codes and the prevalence of their usage has been a real boom for us, because it means that it's a really simple and well understood way of adding either to a location, to a wall, or to a piece of outdoor advertising, a way of being able to say, look, there's something more you can do with this. So I'll give you another example. We worked with Hewlett-Packard at COP26, the climate conference in Glasgow last year. And they've got some amazing sustainability projects all over the world. And they wanted to be able to reach delegates of COP26 and tell them about what they were doing as HP. And so we created, and they had a bunch of content that already existed. Oftentimes with AR, the real costs and kind of overhead of doing it is, and sometimes what stops the campaign is that creating this three-dimensional content is super expensive, and and you're not probably going to really use it for anything else. But they had videos, and they had infographics, and they had some really interesting content around the battery recycling plant in Southeast Asia and whatever else they were doing. And so we worked with them to basically put a really simple call to action and QR code on their digital screens, which were in international airports where people were coming into Glasgow, and in Glasgow and Edinburgh in points of departure and arrival, so train stations, and around the conference centre. And basically, when you scan the QR code, this big kind of earth appeared in front of you, and you could, it's kind of there, shadow on the floor, and you could kind of spin the earth, and then there were these hotspots on it, and when you clicked on them, it then the earth kind of went small again, and then it kind of told you all about the stuff that they were doing, and you saw the videos. But it's all kind of in this three-dimensional three-dimensional space. So that's kind of, so, we as Darabase, as I've kind of explained, we're all about working with the property companies and the outdoor media companies, but actually oftentimes we're then also helping them to create the campaigns, because that kind of helps to educate the industry and helps to really kind of create meaningful activity through which you can then start to show how properties and locations can be leveraged, whether they be existing screens or whether they be just places and spaces.
And QR codes are an emerging medium to really pay attention to, and I really believe that they're now coming into prime. 3 use cases I can think of: commerce, food, and property maintenance. So on the commerce side, you could go to Amazon or you could go to another website and you can see how an item might look inside of your home, which really allows you to appreciate, okay, here's how the art, or here's how the sofa or the table or whatever object I'm ordering would look in my room. I was looking for an air purifier recently, and this has happened to me a couple of times. I don't bother to look at the dimensions and I order it, and it arrives and it's way bigger or way smaller than I anticipated. Now I can actually see exactly where I want to put it, and I realize, I don't like the shade of that. I actually used this when I was looking to buy a very expensive iMac from Apple. They have these really beautiful iMacs, and this is my setup actually at home. And I wasn't sure which color to use. And I'd gone to the store, and I was trying to remember, was that an orange color? Was it a yellow color? For those of people watching through video, I'm going to point, I don't know if this is going to cause some kind of mirror on mirror effect, but I've got 2 screens. I don't know if you can see, this is sort of, how it looks. And behind me, I've got sort of an interesting whiskey themed color, right? So I was looking for an iMac that would match the color of my environment. And through the Apple website, I was able to place it on this desk with the exact proportion. And I loved it. And then I thought, I could have 2, because 2 fits suddenly. So it changes commerce in a beautiful way. When it comes to food, we've all been there. We've all seen it. And COVID really helped here, where you go to a restaurant and you scan the QR code and now you can see a menu. And even then, you can do more than just see the menu. You can order items and you can pay through that interface. And then one to watch out for in property, which is really cool on the prop tech side, because I'm a VC right now and I invest in prop tech companies. Beautiful applications for how QR codes are being used. One that I've seen is for self-touring. So you've got, because of COVID, or because historically due to COVID, it's been difficult to do in-person tours. You can do self-guided tours. You can have QR codes around the building or around the place. You can scan the QR code, it will tell you a lot more. And you can sync it to Alexa as well, so there'd be voice accompanying it. Another one, property maintenance, a company I invested in, Tapi. Really cool idea where you have QR codes attached to the appliance. So now when there's a problem with that appliance, you've got a QR code and it pulls up the actual manual related to that appliance. And if you've got a chatbot attached to that, now you're talking to someone on the support team and they're not asking you, what make and model is it? Okay, let me query that. Immediately, that QR code is now linked to your stove or to your fridge or to your dishwasher, and you're able to triage. And even then, not just triage, there's also a way to give you automated instructions, like try this, try that. And this removes so much of the queries that come through that can be handled very quickly. 90% of the queries can easily be handled just by having AI or a chatbot show you, here is what you need to do to change the light bulb, or here's the settings you need to change on the stovetop.
Yeah, I've seen a company doing that, but also with AR as well, for Airbnbs. You kind of go to a house and there's a coffee machine and you think, oh God, that looks complicated. And you scan the QR code, you hold up your phone, and it basically has kind of a three-dimensional kind of model of the coffee machine, which is super simple to do now, just with your phone. And then it kind of goes, open here, and you go and press the button, it kind of pops up. Okay, then you put in the cartridge, so there's lots of ways that actually, not only can you then use QR code to kind of do something, but actually you can then use AR to layer on the world what it is that you can do. And then to kind of your service point, if you can then allow people to see what you're seeing. So either today with your phone, you say, kind of enable, and then they're just looking through your phone at what you're looking at, or even with glasses, HoloLens do this, with Microsoft, some of the Microsoft demos, where you can actually say, okay, well, I need to fix this piece of machinery. You put on your glasses, somebody, thousands of miles away puts on their glasses, and they're just seeing what you're seeing. And they go, okay, yeah, you see that nodule on the left? Yeah, no, the other one. Okay, yeah, press that, because they can just see your hand.
So disruptive, right? So disruptive versus the old paradigm of calling, or even the old paradigm of talking to an online chat or text message chat. Here you've got full connectivity, and a lot of our listeners, I bet half, probably want to or do have Airbnbs currently and are probably thinking the amount of queries in property management that you get that can be solved so easily. And some people are so lazy, you have to send a maintenance worker out there to fix a very quick 5-minute job, can now be handled through AI, chatbots, or, just giving really smart support by having a QR code. One thing that puzzled me though, for any of our listeners who have actually been in the metaverse, I've spent quite a bit of time on these online platforms like Decentraland, for example. You'll go there, and this really tripped me up. I go there, I'm walking through this virtual land, and I see a billboard, and I see a QR code on the billboard. I'm like, hold on, let me understand. I'm here on my computer in the virtual world, and then I'm on my desktop, for example, right? I'm not my VR, headset. And I see a QR code. And I'm just puzzled. I'm like, so wait for a second. I've got to take my phone now and point it to this QR code. So it's just kind of a trippy feeling, Yeah,
it's like one of those Russian dolls.
Right, exactly.
An experience inside an experience. So I think there's, the thing about technology for me is it's just got to make things better. There's so much technology that's been spoken about before where it's kind of a cool idea looking for a problem to solve. Whereas actually, I believe that AR, augmented reality generally, has a huge opportunity to just make our lives, as I said, some time ago in the conversation, more human, more real, more entertaining, more useful, and just solve some of the things that have previously got in the way, because you've had to kind of take something that's happening in life and then try and fit it onto a two-dimensional screen. Architects are a good example. Architects are now doing these amazing, CAD drawings and all these three-dimensional models, and actually oftentimes still then building something in cardboard to kind of show you what it looks like, which is kind of odd in terms of creating these models. But then also you then see most of those things on a two-dimensional screen. So you're trying to take all this three-dimensional content and put it onto a flat screen. Whereas actually augmented reality, and to a degree also virtual reality, allows you to then experience that in 3 dimensions, and just the human brain and the way that we understand space can allows us, a little bit like your Mac, allows us to kind of be able to make better decisions, because we can we are spatial beings, and it's difficult for our brains to be able to take something that's 3 dimensional and really get to grips with it in a 2-dimensional screen.